Jax's revenge domain. They called me in early for my annual review, said there'd be a compensation discussion. Instead of the senior partnership I'd earned, they handed me a termination letter. Big mistake. They assumed those 5 accounts worth $30 million belonged to the firm, not to the guy who'd spent 15 years building relationships they couldn't replicate. By lunch, I'd walked out with every single one. My name is Scott Wellington, I'm 49, and I just dismantled the company that thought a Navy veteran was replaceable. For 15 years, I'd carried Hartwell and Associates on my back. Widower, raising my 17-year-old daughter Ashley alone since my wife passed from cancer 3 years ago. Living in a decent house in Chicago's suburbs because I'd poured everything into a career I thought would secure Ashley's future. That Wednesday morning started with an email that made me think my luck was finally changing. Scott, please arrive at 7:30 a.m. for your annual review and compensation discussion. Compensation discussion. After landing the Morrison portfolio last month, a $7 million account everyone said was impossible, I figured this meant senior partner, maybe even my name on the letterhead. Ashley had gotten into Harvard, and the $75,000 annual tuition was going to be brutal. This promotion would make it all work. The morning felt different walking to the office. I grabbed coffee from my usual spot, looked up at the Chicago skyline, and thought about my daughter's future. In the Navy, we had a saying, ship, shipmate, self. Take care of your vessel, your crew, then yourself. For 15 years at Hartwell, I'd put the company first, clients second, myself last. Time for that to pay off. The receptionist wouldn't look me in the eye when I signed in. Strange, but I chalked it up to early morning nerves. Kevin Hartwell, our COO, stood outside the executive conference room checking his watch. He didn't smile when he saw me. That should have been my first clue. In the Navy, we learned to read body language fast. Kevin's stance screamed trouble. Inside, 3 people waited. Kevin, Michelle Torres from HR, and some lawyer whose name I'd never learned. No handshakes, no congratulations, just a folder with my name sitting in the center of an empty table. Scott, have a seat, Michelle said in that voice HR people practice for delivering bad news. I stayed standing. Military training dies hard. What's going on here? Kevin finally looked at me and I recognized the expression. Guilt mixed with cowardice. In the Navy, we called guys like him deck dodgers, the ones who found excuses to be somewhere else when real work needed doing. The firm is restructuring. We're consolidating the wealth management division. Consolidating. I let the word hang there. I manage 5 of your top accounts. My book generates $450,000 in annual revenue for this firm. The decision is final, the lawyer said, sliding papers toward me. We're offering standard severance, 6-week salary, benefits through next month. I looked at the termination date. Today. Effective immediately. You're firing me during my review meeting. Michelle shifted uncomfortably. We need you to surrender company property. Laptop, phone, building access. Security is waiting to escort you to your workspace. Then it clicked. Ryan Phillips, the 25-year-old with an MBA from Northwestern and 0 real-world experience. The kid who'd been shadowing me for 8 weeks, asking detailed questions about client preferences, meeting schedules, investment strategies. The one whose uncle sat on Hartwell's board of directors. Who's taking my accounts? I asked, already knowing. Kevin's hesitation told me everything. Ryan will be transitioning into an elevated role. He's been training extensively. The kid who'd called a municipal bond a city loan 3 weeks ago. Who'd shown up 20 minutes late to a breakfast meeting with Alan Morrison, making me spend an hour doing damage control. I need to contact my clients. That won't be necessary. We're handling all transitions internally. Michelle's smile looked painted on. Your email access was terminated at 7 o'clock this morning. Before I'd even walked through the door, they'd cut me out of their system, erased me like I'd never existed. In the Navy, you never left a man behind. Here, they'd ambushed their most productive advisor. Sign the severance agreement, the lawyer said. The non-compete is standard. 18 months, same industry, 50-mile radius. I almost laughed. I never signed a non-compete when you hired me 15 years ago. His jaw tightened. It's incorporated into the severance package. Then I decline your package. The room went dead quiet. They'd expected me to roll over like some corporate lifer. Old reliable Scott, always following orders. They'd forgotten I spent 10 years in the Navy learning that some orders don't deserve to be followed. Security is outside, Kevin said, standing up. This needs to happen now. I walked to the door, then turned back. You might want to call Alan Morrison. He specifically chose Hartwell because of our relationship. Same with Jessica Monroe, the Fitzgerald brothers, and Jennifer Hayes. Oh, and Ryan should know that Alan only takes meetings before 8 a.m. He's particular about that. Kevin's face went white. Those names represented $30 million in managed assets. Also, I added, Jessica's mother just moved into assisted living. She'll need someone who remembers these things matter. And the Fitzgeralds test every new advisor by asking about tax loss harvesting in the first 5 minutes. Hope Ryan studied up. I left them with their paperwork and their restructuring and their complete inability to understand what they'd just destroyed. 2 security guards I'd greeted every morning for 15 years stood in the hallway. The younger one, Pete, looked at the floor as he walked with me to my office. This felt like being escorted off a ship in disgrace, except I'd done nothing wrong. The march through the trading floor felt like a funeral. Conversations stopped. Computer screens suddenly became fascinating. Everyone knew what was happening, but keeping your job meant pretending otherwise. My desk looked exactly as I'd left it yesterday. Coffee mug still sitting there. Notes for today's meeting with the Morrison account still visible on my monitor. Except now Ryan Phillips occupied my chair, scrolling through my files like he owned the place. Scott, he said, standing quickly, this is awkward. I want you to know I didn't ask for this. Get up. I'm just trying to make the transition smooth for everyone. Get out of my chair. He moved aside and I started the humiliating process of packing 15 years into a cardboard box. The plant from my first major client. Awards from industry conferences. Photos from client events where I'd thought I was building something permanent. That's when I noticed a printed document on my desk. Ryan's transition plan, probably left there by accident. All 5 of my major accounts listed with notes about modernizing communication strategies and implementing digital-first approaches. Digital first. This kid had lasted 10 minutes in a room with Jessica Monroe before she'd politely asked to speak with someone who understands traditional portfolio management. 15 minutes, Pete said quietly. I'm sorry, Scott. This isn't right. I nodded, continuing to pack. My personal laptop went in the box, the one I'd used for years to stay connected with clients outside office hours, building relationships that existed beyond Hartwell's corporate structure. My company phone was already gone, but my personal cell sat in the desk drawer. I'd used it countless times for client calls, creating connections that no corporate policy could control. Reminded me of my first deployment on the USS Enterprise. Our communications officer got transferred mid-deployment, and command thought they could just slot in a replacement. Problem was, the new guy didn't know which frequencies the Allied ships monitored, which captains preferred direct contact, which protocols actually worked in the field. Took weeks to rebuild those critical connections. Same thing here, except Ryan didn't have weeks, and my clients weren't going to wait around. As I finished packing, I walked over to the whiteboard where I'd mapped out quarterly strategies for each account. 15 years of planning and relationship building. I grabbed the eraser and wiped it clean. Gone in 30 seconds. You can't do that, Ryan protested. Just did. That's my intellectual property, not Hartwell's. The walk to the elevator felt like being marched to the brig. In the Navy, at least you knew what you'd done wrong. Here, my only crime was being too successful for their comfort. At the elevator, I handed Pete my building access badge. Take care of yourself, Scott, he said quietly. I heard them talking in the break room. They think the clients will stay because of the Hartwell name. They're wrong. The elevator doors opened. I stepped inside with my box and my phone and 15 years of relationships they thought they owned. In the lobby, I sat on a bench and checked my personal phone. A dozen messages waited. Clients who'd heard through the corporate grapevine that something was happening. People who'd been told their accounts were being reassigned. Alan Morrison's text was first. Just got an automated email about account changes. Call me immediately. I looked up at the Hartwell and Associates logo etched into the marble wall. 15 years of 70-hour weeks, canceled family dinners, relationships built on trust and genuine care. They'd locked me out at 7 a.m., confident that would be enough. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Back home, I went straight to my office and opened a file I'd labeled Personal Network Documentation, not client financial data. I wasn't stupid enough to steal proprietary information. This was relationship intelligence, the kind you couldn't download from any database. Alan Morrison, early riser, only communicates before 8 a.m. Lost his son in Afghanistan 5 years ago. Never schedules meetings near Memorial Day. Drinks black coffee. Hates presentations longer than 20 minutes. Tests new advisors by asking about tax-exempt bonds. Jessica Monroe makes decisions during her morning runs. Catch her between miles 3 and 5, and she'll consider anything reasonable. Her assistant Karen screens everything ruthlessly. Remember Karen's grandkids' soccer schedule, and you're golden. Mother just moved to assisted living. Very sensitive topic. The Fitzgerald brothers, Paul and Eddie. They compete constantly but present united fronts to outsiders. Never put them in a room without a mediator. Email both simultaneously, or they'll assume conspiracy. They test advisors by asking technical questions about tax loss harvesting within the first 5 minutes. Jennifer Hayes, vegetarian, runs a nonprofit for veterans housing. Her husband's deployment ends next month. She values advisors who understand military families over those who only talk returns. I'd spent years learning these details through genuine conversation and actually caring about them as people. In the Navy, we called it knowing your crew. You couldn't lead people you didn't understand. My phone kept buzzing. I'd silenced everything except calls and texts, so every vibration meant something real. First call went to Alan Morrison. He answered before the first ring finished. "Scott, what the hell is happening?" Some kid called saying he's my new advisor. He couldn't even explain what a municipal bond was. "Alan, I was terminated this morning, effective immediately. Ryan Phillips is taking over your account." Silence. Then, "Meet me at Sullivan's Steakhouse in 30 minutes. Sullivan's was our usual spot, a quiet place downtown where Alan conducted real business. We'd met there after his son's funeral, working through the scholarship fund details, while he grieved. "I'll be there." Second call was Jessica Monroe. She was mid-run but stopped when she heard my voice. "Scott, Karen told me some stranger tried to schedule a meeting at 2 p.m. I run every afternoon at 2. Doesn't anyone do basic research anymore? I was let go this morning. Hartwell is restructuring. Ryan is your new account manager. The intern who couldn't explain compound interest last month. Are they insane?" I kept my voice steady. "I'm exploring independent options. Send me your proposal today. I don't care what it costs." The Fitzgerald brothers were trickier. They valued stability above everything. I called both simultaneously. "Paul, Eddie, I need 2 minutes. Hartwell terminated me this morning. Your accounts have been reassigned to Ryan Phillips. You deserve to know immediately." Paul spoke first. "The nephew?" "That's the one." Eddie's voice was hard. "What's your plan?" "Independent wealth management. Same strategies, better attention, lower overhead. Send us a proposal," they said simultaneously. "Tomorrow. 3 down," Jennifer Hayes answered while picking up her kids from school. "Scott, I just got the strangest voicemail from someone named Ryan. He suggested we meet at a sports bar to discuss my portfolio. I don't drink, and I certainly don't conduct business in bars. Jennifer, I was released from Hartwell this morning. Ryan is taking over. He obviously didn't read your file. What's your next move?" "Wellington Wealth Management. Filing paperwork this afternoon." "Good. Send me the details." By 11:30 a.m., I was sitting across from Alan at Sullivan's. He looked every bit the successful businessman he was, but I could see the concern in his eyes. "I've been with Hartwell for 8 years, he said, stirring his coffee. "You know why I stayed? Tell me." "You understood what the money represented. You knew about my son, what his sacrifice meant. You helped me set up that scholarship fund without making it feel like charity." My throat tightened. Alan's boy had been 22, same age I was when I joined the Navy. Different wars, same sacrifice. "Alan, my attorney can have us out of that contract by end of day." "Good. What's your fee structure?" I hadn't even thought about rates yet. Whatever Hartwell was charging, I'll cut it by 20%. Eliminate the corporate overhead. My phone buzzed. Jessica had sent a text. "Contract terminated with Hartwell. Waiting for your information." Alan saw my expression. "Others jumping ship. Jessica's out. The Fitzgeralds are meeting me at 2. Jennifer wants documentation." "That's 4 clients, Scott. How much in total assets?" "Around $30 million. He raised his coffee cup. "To Hartwell's spectacular mistake. We spent the next hour outlining transition plans. Alan's lawyer would handle the contract termination, citing Hartwell's material breach of service quality, language I'd insisted on including 8 years ago when Alan first signed on. By 1 p.m., I was back in my car, phone ringing constantly. Linda, Cooper, my former assistant, called from the parking garage. "Scott, it's chaos in there. They've lost Alan, Jessica, and word is spreading fast about the others. What's Kevin saying? He's been in emergency meetings all morning. Ryan's uncle showed up an hour ago demanding explanations. They're calling it the worst single-day loss in company history." I thought about the time our destroyer lost radar contact during a storm in the Persian Gulf. Command panicked, started issuing contradictory orders, made everything worse. Same energy here. Hartwell was about to make the crisis bigger by overreacting. "There's more," Linda continued. "They're talking about legal action. Kevin thinks you violated some non-compete clause. Can't violate something I never signed. My attorney made sure of that 15 years ago." At 2 p.m., I sat in a neutral conference room downtown with the Fitzgerald brothers. They'd already made their decision. "We did our research," Paul said, sliding papers across the table. "Ryan Phillips graduated 18 months ago. Never managed a portfolio over $100,000. Has no CFP certification. Meanwhile," Eddie continued, "you guided us through the 2020 market crash, kept our portfolios stable when everyone else was panicking." "That wasn't luck," I said. "In the Navy, we trained for worst-case scenarios constantly. Market volatility is just another storm to navigate." They both nodded. Military families understood preparation. "Wellington Wealth Management has our business," Paul said. At 3:30, I met Jennifer Hayes at a coffee shop near her nonprofit. She cut straight to the point. I called Hartwell to verify Ryan's qualifications. They transferred me 3 times before admitting he's never worked with military families. My husband's deployment pay, VA benefits, TSP rollovers, it's all foreign to him. "I understand those systems, Jennifer. 10 years Navy myself." "I know. It's why I chose you originally." She handed me a signed letter. "When do we start?" By 4 p.m. Hartwell and Associates was in full meltdown. Linda called with updates. Kevin Hartwell just flew in the CEO from New York. Ryan's been removed from all accounts pending review. They're scrambling to figure out damage control. "What's the total now?" "All 5 of your major clients, gone. $30 million in managed assets. $450,000 in annual revenue. Plus, 3 other clients are asking questions about their account managers." My phone beeped. Kevin Hartwell calling from his personal cell. I let it go to voicemail, then listened. "Scott, there seems to be some confusion about these transitions. We'd like to discuss a consulting arrangement to help facilitate smooth transfers. Please call immediately." I deleted the message. In the Navy, we had a saying, "You can't negotiate after you've already lost the battle." That evening, Ashley got home from school and found me at the kitchen table with business formation paperwork spread everywhere. "Dad, what's all this? Starting my own business?" "Sweetheart, Hartwell let me go today." Her face cycled through emotions, shock, anger, then something that looked like pride. "So you're going to show them they made a mistake?" I smiled. My daughter understood competition. Something like that. "How was school?" "Harvard sent another packet about freshman orientation." She hesitated. "Dad, if money's going to be tight." "Ashley, your education is the most important thing we'll ever invest in. Your mom and I talked about this before she got sick. Harvard was always the plan." She hugged me tight. "Mom would be proud of what you're doing." That night, I couldn't sleep. Kept thinking about Jessica's text. "Send me everything by tomorrow." The Fitzgerald brothers wanting contracts by end of week. Jennifer already referring other military families. At 2 a.m., I was still at my computer setting up Wellington Wealth Management's business structure when my phone rang. Unknown number. "Mr. Wellington? This is Tony Martinez. I got your number from..." "I got Alan Morrison. I understand you're starting your own firm." "That's right. How can I help you?" "I've got $5 million with Hartwell currently. After hearing what they did to you, I'm exploring alternatives. I'd be happy to discuss that, Tony. Can we meet this week?" By Thursday morning, the legal threats arrived. 3 different cease and desist letters, each more desperate than the last. My attorney, Sarah Peterson, was having the time of her life reviewing them over coffee. "They're grasping at straws," she said. First, they claim non-compete violations that don't exist. Then they allege theft of proprietary information without specifying what you supposedly stole. She pulled up a document on her laptop. Remember this clause you insisted on 15 years ago? Employee acknowledges that any professional relationships predating employment remain personal networks. Your paranoia about protecting your network is paying dividends now. We're not just defending, Sarah continued. We're countersuing. Wrongful termination, unpaid bonuses, reputational damage. My phone rang. Mike Sullivan from the Financial Tribune. Mr. Wellington, I'm writing about the mass client exodus from Hartwell and Associates. Would you comment? Sarah nodded at me. I can confirm I've established Wellington Wealth Management. I'm grateful for the clients who've chosen to continue our professional relationships. Beyond that, I'm focused on serving their needs. Sources say Hartwell lost $30 million in assets after terminating you. Can you confirm? Client decisions are confidential. You'd need to ask them directly. By noon Thursday, the Tribune article was online. Hartwell and Associates hemorrhages assets after firing key manager. They'd interviewed sources who painted a picture of nepotism, panic, and catastrophic judgment. Ryan Phillips was described as unavailable for comment pending internal review. The real victory came at 2 p.m. when Tony Martinez called back. Scott, I've been thinking about our conversation. I want to move my account to Wellington. When can we make this official? How about tomorrow morning? I'll have all the paperwork ready. By end of business Thursday, I had inquiries from 2 more potential clients, both referrals from my original 5. Hartwell wasn't just losing my accounts. They were losing the trust that generated new business. Sarah called with settlement news. Hartwell's legal counsel wants to deal. They'll drop all legal threats, pay your full annual bonus, and provide a stellar reference if you sign mutual non-disparagement. I thought about Alan's fury when Ryan couldn't explain municipal bonds, Jessica's assistant hanging up on strangers, the Fitzgerald brothers asking what the hell was happening. No deal, I said. They made their choice. Now they live with it. Sarah grinned. I was hoping you'd say that. Friday afternoon, 1 p.m. Private dining room at Gibson's Steakhouse, downtown Chicago. 5 people sat around the table, representing $30 million in managed assets and 15 years of relationships that no corporate restructuring could touch. Alan Morrison raised his water glass. To terrible decisions and the opportunities they create. Jessica Monroe laughed. To HR departments who think connections matter more than competence. To remembering our coffee orders, the Fitzgerald brothers said in unison. Jennifer Hayes smiled. To advisors who understand military families. And to advisors who actually answer their phones, added Tony Martinez, who'd officially signed that morning. We weren't just celebrating contracts. This lunch marked something bigger, a business built on the idea that clients were people, not portfolio numbers. In the Navy, we called it taking care of your people first. Same principle applied here. I have news, Alan said. Hartwell tried to sue me for breach of contract. My lawyer's response was beautiful. Apparently, when you fire someone during their bonus meeting and replace them with incompetence, you've materially breached first. Jessica pulled out her phone. Speaking of Hartwell, look at their stock price, down 22% this week. The financial press is calling it the Wellington effect. My phone buzzed with a text from Linda. Kevin Hartwell just resigned. Ryan's gone too. Board meeting lasted 6 hours. They're bringing in crisis management consultants. I showed the message to the table. Even the usually serious Fitzgerald brothers smiled. You know what's funny? Alan leaned back in his chair. Hartwell's CEO called me yesterday, offered to rehire you at triple salary if I'd return as a client. What did you tell him? I told him about your son's scholarship fund, how you helped me honor his memory properly, understood what those investments really meant. His expression hardened. Then I explained that Ryan had called it that veteran thing during our meeting. I hung up on him after that. The waiter brought our carefully selected lunch, Jessica's vegetarian option, the Fitzgerald's identical orders, Jennifer's gluten-free request. Details that proved you paid attention, that clients weren't just account numbers. There's something else, Jennifer said. My husband's deployment ends next month, and he's looking at civilian financial planning careers. You interested in hiring someone who understands military families? I thought about it. Wellington Wealth Management was already getting more referrals than I could handle alone. Have him call me. Navy, Marines. 2 deployments, Honorable discharge, working on his CFP certification. Perfect. Military discipline plus client empathy. Send me his resume. As lunch wound down, Tony Martinez leaned forward. Scott, I've been talking to my brother-in-law in Milwaukee. He's got a $4 million portfolio with some firm that doesn't return his calls. Interested? Always interested in taking care of good people. The Fitzgerald brothers exchanged their telepathic look. We know two other business owners looking for wealth management. Both military veterans, both fed up with corporate financial firms. I looked around the table at 5 people who'd chosen loyalty over convenience, relationships over corporate brands, trust over organizational charts. In 1 week, they'd helped me transform from a terminated employee to a business owner with a waiting list. Thank you, I said. All of you. Stop, Alan interrupted. We didn't do you a favor. You saved us from Ryan Phillips. That's worth any transition hassle. Outside Gibson's, Chicago's April wind hit hard, but I didn't mind. 1 week ago, I'd left this downtown area with a cardboard box and a security escort. Now I walked out as founder of my own firm, with clients who'd followed me through corporate threats and legal intimidation. That evening, Ashley and I sat at the kitchen table going over her Harvard paperwork. The acceptance letter sat between us, already framed for her bedroom wall. Dad, I've been thinking about what you said, about Mom wanting me to go to Harvard. What about it? She also taught me that family comes first. If the money's going to be tight, I reached across and took her hand. Ashley, do you know what your first client meeting taught me? She looked confused. My what? When you were 8 and came to the office on Take Your Daughter to Work Day, Alan Morrison was there, still grieving his son. You asked him about his boy's favorite color, said you wanted to draw him a picture. Alan cried that day, first time since the funeral. Her eyes filled up. I remember that. That's when I learned what this business really is. It's not about money or portfolios or corporate structures. It's about caring for people during the most important moments of their lives. Your mom understood that. She'd be proud of what we built this week. We built? Wellington Wealth Management exists because I learned from the best teacher I ever had, your mother. She showed me how to care about people, really care, that's care. What those clients followed, not some corporate name. Ashley hugged me tight. So Harvard's really happening? Harvard's happening. Wellington Wealth Management's first official business goal is funding my daughter's education. Everything else is just details. She laughed, and for a moment I heard her mother's laugh in the sound. Later that night, I was in my office updating client files when my phone rang. Unknown number, but I recognized the area code, Norfolk, Virginia. Navy base. Mr. Wellington, this is Commander Patricia Mills, Navy Federal Credit Union. We've heard about your new firm from several of our members. We're looking for someone who understands military financial planning for our wealth management referrals. I smiled at my computer screen. The network was growing. Commander, I'd be honored to discuss that. By the following Monday, Wellington Wealth Management was officially thriving. 7 clients, $39 million in assets under management, $585,000 in annual revenue. More importantly, a business built on the values I'd learned in the Navy and from my wife. Take care of your people, honor your commitments, and never leave anyone behind. Hartwell and Associates was officially dying. Stock down 28%, management in chaos, clients asking questions about their account managers. The local business news was calling it the worst self-inflicted corporate wound in Chicago financial history. And Ryan Phillips was officially learning what happens when nepotism meets competence. 3 months later, Ashley called from Harvard orientation, voice bubbling with excitement about her classes, her roommate, her future. Dad, I'm so proud of what you built. We built it together, sweetheart. Your mom's wisdom, your support, and a bunch of clients who understood that relationships matter more than corporate logos. The best revenge isn't just success, it's building something that shows exactly what your former employer lost. And they'd lost everything that mattered, one relationship at a time. In business, just like in the Navy, you take care of your people first. Everything else falls into place after that. When you've spent decades building something real, remember that loyalty flows both ways. The people who matter will follow competence and character, not corporate titles and empty promises. At the end of your career, what survives isn't the company name on your business card, but the trust you earned and the lives you touched along the way.